Morning, Andre. You'll indicate once we've got a quorum of members and once everyone is here, we're ready.
No problem, Chair. Good morning, Chair. In terms of the rules, we have 1/3 of the members present on the platform. We may proceed with the meeting, Chair. Shall I do a roll call?
Yes, please.
Mr. Gigaba? Mr. Gigaba is on the platform, Chair. Mr. Chance?
I'm present. Thank you, Andre.
Mr. Mutluli?
I'm present. Thank you very much, Andre and Chair.
Mr. Shingila?
I'm present, Chair.
With yourself, Chair, those are the members currently on the platform. The others may still join us, but we may proceed with the meeting, Chair.
With your permission, Chair, I'm here.
Thank you. Thank you, Member Kigaba.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, colleagues. You are all welcome. Greetings to all the honorable members. Greetings to the NCR. We have an agenda before us. Can we get a mover and seconder?
I move that we adopt the agenda, Chair.
Thank you, Member Mdluli moves.
I second, sir.
Thank you very much, Member Kigaba seconds. Thank you very much. Are there any apologies?
Chair, we have an apology from Mr. Msizani, Ms. Slalo Webster, and Ms. Langa submitted an apology, Chair.
And yeah, also an apology from a member Kama. I think he also emailed you, Chair, and Andre.
I will confirm, Chair. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, please, all the emails of apologies must go to Andres because it's easy to deal with administratively. Thank you very much. We are receiving a briefing from NRCS on its amended or revised APP and the third quarter financial and non-financial report for 2024-25. And the purpose of the meeting today is for the committee to receive the briefing from the NRCS on its amended or revised annual performance plan for 2024-25 financial year, as well as on the third quarter financial and non-financial performance, given its available resources, given its resource, its resources for 2024-25 financial year. Therefore, the oversight of its performance is an extension of Section 5 of the Money Bill Amendment Procedure and Related Matters Act 9 of 2009. This section of the Act requires that the National Assembly, through its committee, to annually assess the performance of each national department over an 18-month period and to submit a report of the assessment, which is known as the Budgetary Review and Recommendation Report. And I would now like to give to our colleagues from the TTIC to lead the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chairperson. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, and good morning to the Honorable Chair and the Honorable members. My name is Nontombi Matomela from the DTIC. Chairperson, as usual, we appreciate the opportunity to interact with the Portfolio Committee. And so I will not waste a lot of time. I will hand over to the acting CEO of the NRCS, Mr. Duncan Mutengwe, who will be leading the presentation, and he will introduce his team chair. Thank you very much.
Acting CEO.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Thank you, Ms. Matomela. And good morning to Honorable Committee members. As indicated, my name is Duncan Mutengwe, Acting Chief Executive Officer of the NRCS. And I'll be taking you through the presentation with regards to our amended annual performance plan for the year 2024-2025, as well as our performance for Q3. I'll just have to put this presentation on a presentation mode. Thank you very much. With me, Honorable Chair, I have our CFO, Ms. Nadine Thomas. I also have our Chief Operations Officer, Mr. Thomas Madzive. I also have Ms. Macy Getz, who is our General Manager for Food and Associated Industries. I also have Mr. Opa Hasaho, our Chief Information Officer, as well as Mr. Edward Matemba, who is our Senior Manager for Strategy and Risk within the organization. The scope of our presentation, Chair, will just cover the introduction in terms of who we are, our strategic overview of the NRCS, covering our goals and the regulated industries. We'll also take you through our strategic focus as the organization, particularly to try and also highlight what we have learned from our previous meeting with regards to alignment with transformation objectives within the country. And then we'll touch into the amendment that we have made in terms of our financial year APP 2024-2025. And then we'll focus on performance for Q3, as well as we'll highlight what we are doing in terms of information and communication technology. And then we'll complete the presentation with our financial overview as of Q3. So I will ask our CFO as well as our Chief Information Officer to come in due course. Just briefly, in terms of our mandate that is known, it is derived from the NRCS Act, and it is about the promotion of public health, safety and environmental protection through the development and enforcement of compulsory specifications and technical regulations, whilst also ensuring fair trade. At a glance, in terms of our human resources, our organizational structure composes of 363 positions, and the current staff complement is 306, which includes contractors and positions above the establishment of the organization. And we currently have 62 vacant positions. We have appointed about 23 interns at this point in time, who are placed in various business units within the organization. Our performance for Q3, just at a very high level, it has been not going in the manner that we would have wanted it to. And particularly, the biggest impact during Q3 was with regards to the prolonged industrial action within the organization, which started from the 20th of November right through the beginning of January this year. At this point in time, the strike has been put on suspense and it's awaiting the mediation process through which the DTIC is assisting. In terms of our legislative mandate, of course, the Founding Act is the National Regulator for Compulsory Specifications Act, our Legal Metrology Act, which also provides a fair trade in as far as the regulation of the industry is concerned. And then other legislative mandate includes, amongst others, the National Building Regulations and Building Standards Act and the National Road Traffic Act. We're just listing those because we don't have explicit and direct mandate from the Act themselves. It has to be activated through other government ministers or the Minister of Trade, Industry and Competition. Quickly, in terms of our strategic goals, which are pretty much aligned to the mandate that we have. And Honorable Chair, I would like to apologize there in terms of the chronological flow of the goals there, where it says SG1, SG2 should actually be 1, and moving in a clockwise direction, SG3 should be 2, SG4 should be 3, and SG1 should actually be 4. We need to apologize in that regard. So basically, our first goal has to deal with the development and maintenance of compulsory specifications and technical regulations. And then strategic goal number 2 is to maximize compliance with all specifications and technical regulations. And then goal number 3 is to inform and educate our stakeholders about the work of the NRCS. And then with goal number 4, which is to ensure an optimally capacitated institution. Our vision is a safe, sustainable South Africa where people and business can trade and purchase with confidence. And our mission is to protect public health and safety, safeguard the environment, and facilitate fair trade. Just on a high level, in terms of our regulatory processes, Chair and honorable members, we need to first have the compulsory specifications and technical regulations developed. That is the point of departure in as far as our work is concerned. Without these tools, we are unable to then continue with our mandate. So firstly, there should be a need for a regulation or a compulsory specification to be developed. Once we have the compulsory specifications, all the products and services that are covered by those compulsory specifications should first receive an approval from the NRCS before trading can take place. And then we continue to monitor compliance in our markets, point of manufacture and point of entry for these products to ensure that products continue to comply with those that we have approved in terms of the requirements. And then we go into the market and we sample products that is on the basis of suspicion and also to ensure that there's continuity in as far as compliance is concerned. Then we'll have these products tested by accredited laboratories. Where we have found these products to be non-compliant with the requirements of compulsory specifications and technical regulations, we will then issue sanctions to deter these products from being traded in the market. And we would also ensure that those that are found to be non-compliant are either destroyed or sent back to the country of origin, or they will be dealt with in any other way that the NRCS deems fit. Quickly, in terms of the industries that we regulate in the automotive space, all the products that are in the automotive space, particularly vehicles, replacement components, and some of the accessories that are used with vehicles are covered there. We also are, in terms of the National Road Traffic Act, responsible for the inspection of manufacturers, importers, and builders of motor vehicles. Then we have our chemicals, mechanical, and materials business unit that covers the sectors within the protective equipment, personal protective equipment, so to say, shooting ranges, and associated industries, chemical disinfectants, microbiological safety cabinets, plastic carrier and flat bags, flame-producing devices, as well as construction materials that include cement. So this is basically one of the area that is quite generic in terms of any product that we might not find anywhere where we can accommodate in the various other sectors. It will then find its place within this particular unit. Then we have our electrotechnical unit that focuses on electrical and electronic products. Our food and associated industries chair focuses on fish and fishery products, canned meat, as well as processed meat. In the legal metrology, our main objective there is to deal with measurable products and services, measurements in trade, health and safety, and the environment, and any measuring instrument that is used for prescribed purpose. In terms of the national building regulations, that is just to ensure uniform interpretation of National Building Regulations and Standards Act. But as indicated earlier, we would then require a mandate given by the minister in this regard. In terms of our strategic focus, we have designed our strategy in a manner that we would have wanted, up and above the mandate that has been given to us, to align with the direction in terms of the government policies, and in particular the MTDP. And then we'll focus on trade facilitation as one of the areas where we'll be enabling local manufacturers to trade and create a regulatory environment that enables fair trade and enterprise development in an equitable and socially responsible manner. This is the compulsory specifications and the technical regulations that we develop and enforce, as well as the issuance of the certificates to be able to enable the traders to trade in a fair manner in this regard. Then in terms of the focus area on industrial production and exports, we facilitate transformation of the economy to promote industrial development, investment, competitiveness, and employment creation. Enable and promote exports specifically within our fisheries sectors, as we are the competent authority in South Africa. Building mutually beneficial regional, continental, and international relations to advance South Africa's trade, industrial policy, and economic development. This is through various memoranda of understanding that we have signed with other like institutions, countries, as well as forums that also advocate the same mandate that the NRCS has. And of course, we focus on the public health, safety, and environmental protection, which is our point of departure in terms of our own mandate. Then our focus area also is with regards to the financial sustainability of the organization, where we have noted in the past financial year, going into this financial year, that our finances have not really been looking good. And we have, at this point in time, identified the process that we need to follow to be able to put the organization in its rightful place. So we will then direct our resources to ensure efficient and effective collection of levies, cost containment measures that had been developed, and which are also currently in place. There is quite a lot of other activities that the organization is not involved in a manner that we wanted to align with our cost saving. And then also the DTIC, through the process of engagement, is considering our request in terms of the increment of the NRCS tariffs. Our other focus area is to dedicate our resources towards the non-compliant companies. Yes, of course, we do admit that as the organization, we cannot be all over the country at any given moment. However, we dedicate our resources to areas where we believe that there are non-compliance that will require the sanctioning process in terms of dealing away with these particular products that we regulate that are found to be non-compliant. Improvement of the audit outcome. You will recall, Chair, that our previous outcome in terms of audit was not a clean outcome, although it was unqualified, but we have identified areas of improvement in terms of dealing with these findings. Then we also focus in terms of the effective utilization of the regulatory framework, wherein we have introduced the risk-based approach to approvals and inspections. In other words, again, this is to deal with allocating the resources where it matters the most. And also in terms of approvals, where we know that there's low risk, we will process those approvals quicker than the normal turnaround time of 90 days. Then we'll focus on stakeholder engagements, which is where we collaborate with industry in terms of our stakeholder engagement plan, and then improvement in terms of consumer and stakeholder recognition, awareness, and understanding of compulsory specifications. Modernization of ICT and other systems that include data management. This will inform innovative working methods that enable the NRCS to be agile, effective, efficient, accessible, and intelligent in delivering on our mandate. Quickly, with regards to our revised plan, Chair and honorable members, we have looked into the previous APP that was approved, and we realized that two of the key performance areas that we had committed to are more likely to be not achieved. Firstly, one had to deal with the issue around our financial constraints within the organization, and that had to deal with the customer relationship management system, which is our regulatory system, which would have required much more than we can offer in terms of our finances. So we have removed that target because we knew we were not going to achieve that. And secondly, it was the target with regards to percentage of regulatory impact assessment to be finalized. We have also realized that this might pose challenge in terms of measurement, in terms of that percentage with regards to the impact assessment for compulsory specifications. So we have removed these two targets. And as part of reviewing our APP, we have added 3 new key performance areas, also informed by the 10 outputs of the DTIC in the 7th administration, where we wanted to tackle illicit trade and non-compliant goods that are entering the country through collaboration with other entities such as SARS, SAPS, and BMA. And the second target that we have implemented is with regards to the development and implementation on an SMME program that will be targeting local SMMEs involved in local production of regulated products. This will include small-scale farmers as well as also targeting within the automotive industry manufacturers of small trailers wherein they may be skilled in terms of welding, but they might want to explore business opportunities in as far as trailer manufacturing is concerned. Then in collaboration with the DTIC, we have committed to develop and implement an incubation program for Black South Africans who qualify and designated as repair bodies and verification laboratories as per the Legal Metrology Act. In as far as our performance for Q3 is concerned, starting with goal number 1, which of course is about the development and maintenance of compulsory specifications and technical regulations. During the quarter, we were able to finalize one compulsory specification that was then submitted to the DTIC for further handling. And if, of course, is aligned with the DTIC, then it will be published for comments. This is the compulsory specification on dried abalone. Then we have also involved ourselves with the development of 3 other compulsory specifications, which of course the process is still underway. One deals with the metal roof sheeting materials, which will be regulating roofing sheets to eliminate imported low gauge or thin and poor quality roofing sheets that are affecting consumers and the local industry. The 2 other compulsory specifications are within our food and associated industry, which will be the first one being on farmed and wild dried abalone and crude fish oil for human consumption and further processing. So those are the 2 compulsory specifications. And we believe that this compulsory specification will facilitate market access for South African products through the issuance of health guarantees. Still on moving to goal number 2, sorry, Honorable Chair. Our food and associated industry business unit is a competent authority in as far as its work is concerned. We have undergone an audit through the European Union just to ensure that our competency is maintained in that space. And we are happy to share with the committee that we have maintained the status, meaning that the health guarantees that we issue are recognized worldwide, considering the international recognition of the audit conducted by the European Union in this regard. Within the fish and fishery products, we were able to conduct 100% of all declared locally produced and imported and exported canned fishery and meat products during the period under review. We have conducted 1,959 inspections against a target of 1,968. Of course, there's a shortfall there. That is within the frozen fishery products, processed meats, fishery meat processing factories, and fishing vessels, as well as including the retail inspections. Still with regards to our food and associated industries, due to the work that we do and the program that we have put in place in ensuring compliance within our food and associated industries, other departments have expressed their interest in understanding and also learning from the NRCS in the manner that it regulates the industry. And we will be working together with the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment, as well as the Department of Agriculture, just to share our experience and how we conduct our work in that regard. In response to the foodborne illnesses, the NRCS has identified as part of the outcome during that process, we've identified spaza shops as being of the high risk. This is the area that we have not been conducting many inspections in the past. But I think at this point in time, we have realized that we need to put more resources and more programs in place to ensure that we cover spaza shops inspections in this regard, particularly with focus on food and associated products. We have conducted inspections in the Gauteng area, KwaZulu-Natal area, and to a total of about 82 spaza shops that were inspected during the period as of the 30th of December. This is despite the fact that some of the inspectors were not at work due to industrial action that ensued. We will continue to work with other stakeholders to control importation of regulated products within the food and associated industry space. In as far as other areas, sectors, looking at the top right, that is the automotive, chemicals, mechanicals and mechanicals, legal, metrology, as well as electrotechnical sectors. As of the 31st of December, we had conducted 14,678 inspections. That is against the target of 15,783. We understand that we have performed below the expectation for the quarter. In as far as exports are concerned, that is where we have committed to facilitating trade in terms of exportation of food-related products. We had, as of end of December, 7.5 billion worth of products that were facilitated. That is against an annual target of 8 billion. So we are likely to meet that particular target in that regard in terms of our commitment. For sanctions, we were able to identify 447 million worth of non-compliant products that were identified, some of which are subjected for the destruction or sending back to the country of origin, or they will be corrected, particularly for those that the non-compliance does not necessarily affect the safety of such products. The biggest concern for the regulator is with regards to our pre-market approvals, where we have only achieved 90% as opposed to the 95% of completed applications within the 90 days period. Of course, this is a reduced period from the 120 days, which now is 90 days. So industrial action has also had a lot of impact in that regard, meaning that we are likely not to achieve this target even going into the end of the financial year. With regards to the non-compliances, we just wanted to highlight the products that were found to be non-compliant, majority of which are within our electrotechnical sector. There's quite a lot of products within this particular area that were found to be non-compliant, including, amongst others, smart chargers, rechargeable lights, compact fluorescent lamps, spiral mixers, dough sheeter, without obviously going through the complete list, Chair, but this is the bulk of the products within the electrotechnical sector. Within automotive, we're able to identify pneumatic tires for road vehicles and hydraulic brake and clutch fluid. In the fish and fishery products area, we have also identified canned pilchards, the non-compliance being mainly microbiological shortcomings. And then in the legal metrology space, it was mainly the unapproved meters and pre-packed foods that we, of course, find them to be a challenge even going forward. And then in terms of the three areas where we have included into the amended APP, Chair, we have already started to engage with the SAPS, SARS and Home Affairs to try and deal with the illicit products coming into our markets, where we have joint inspections as well as blitz inspections to make sure that products that are found to be non-compliant are removed from the market. And then in developing an SMME program targeting SMMEs involved in the production of goods regulated within South Africa for assistance from the NRCS. We are in a process during this quarter to come up with a program as to how can we assist these small-scale manufacturers of the products that we regulate for them to be able to find their space in the trading area. Then in as far as developing an incubation program for Black South Africans to qualify and be designated as repair bodies. We are highlighting here that these are private companies that will do the work outside of the NRCS. In other words, we would appoint them to do the work for the NRCS. However, the exchange will happen between themselves and whoever is receiving their services. Ours is to only facilitate the appointment of these designated bodies, and they will then continue with the business in that regard. In as far as our strategic goal is concerned, that is to deal with the awareness of the role of the NRCS. We achieved this through quite a lot of communication initiatives through the media, stakeholder engagements, as well as targeted awareness campaigns. We have done so far about 18 stakeholder awareness workshops, and we believe we are aligned in terms of our target in this regard. We have also, in terms of our stakeholder engagement strategy, implemented as of the end of Q3, 97%, which is also aligned to our target. So that's 97% of the implementation of the stakeholder engagement. Strategic goal number 4, with regards to vacancies, we had targeted to have a vacancy of 10%. We don't believe we'll be able to achieve this, particularly considering the financial constraints that the organization faces. As of the end of Q3, we were at 17% as opposed to the 10%. Also, with regards to our revenue target, we had targeted 95%, and the CFO will talk to this particular item under our finances, so we are nowhere closer to achieving the target as well. Just progress in terms of human resources. In terms of the recruitment of interns, we had committed to 20 interns, but thus far we have recruited about 23 interns. That is also to indicate that where in other areas we are unable to fill vacancies, we have assigned some of the responsibilities to the interns, although they do rotation at times, but they are filling in the gaps in as far as areas where the organization needs them is concerned. With regards to the positions that are vacant, about 18 of those, that includes the Chief Executive Officer position and 8 management positions where there are acting employees, and positions have been vacant for more than a year. So this is a problem that we are facing as the organization, but hopefully now that we have identified and moving into the next financial year's budget, we have prioritized in terms of filling most of these positions. We are in the process of completing the culture review, which will be by the end of March, but as of the end of Q3, we were still in the process of finalizing the report in this regard. Then just to align with the previous APP on the DTIC outcome, I think most of what is covered here, I would not want to repeat them, but just to highlight particularly perhaps maybe in terms of transformation where we had committed to the interns. We had achieved the 23 interns in that regard, and the designation of 100% of all BEE compliant repair bodies. So that is as provided for in terms of our Legal Metrology Act, where we are required to appoint the bodies that are compliant in terms of the BEE level 4 in as far as the designation of the work is concerned. For energy, that is to say that what are we doing in terms of ensuring that we are preserving energy within the country. So one, to deal with the implementation of energy efficient compulsory specification, which we have done so, and also the conduction of energy efficient rates targeting non-compliant companies and industries where we are removing these products that draw quite a lot of energy, which obviously are not aligned with the respective compulsory specification. And in terms of the red tape, state and state capability target, we have already reduced our turnaround times for pre-market approvals, and understanding, of course, that our performance for Q3 was not pretty much aligned in terms of our own target. And in as far as stakeholder engagements are concerned, participation in harmonization of regulations within SADC, and also community outreach programs where I have already reported on this. Improving the capacity and responsiveness of the state and social partnership, that is to improve accessibility and response time in relation to customer queries, and 20 case studies of firms wherein they would give some sort of testimony with regards to the work of the NRCS. At the time, 15 case studies against the 20 were already achieved. I will then, through yourself, Honorable Chair, request our Chief Information Officer just to take you through about the status of affairs with regards to our ICT-related space. Thank you. Through yourself, Honorable Chair, if we can request Mr. Opa Hasaho.
I think the chair's fallen asleep.
CEO, Honorable Chair. The CEO was currently in the office at our NRCS building, and they currently had fire alarm going off, so they had to evacuate the building. So he's going to try now to continue with the presentation, CEO.
All right, thank you. Thank you about that.
Morning, Chair. Morning, members. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, ACO. Thank you, CFO. I'll just try to talk through this presentation.
CIO?
Oh, I think I was muted. Am I audible now?
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, ACO. Yes, I will talk through this at high level as a ICT strategy that we have within the NRCS, with the 3 objectives that culminate into 6 goals and about 5 initiatives that we're currently working on from ICT perspective. The objectives being to drive digital transformation, deliver accessible and reliable IT solutions, and then strengthen our organizational governance systems and controls through technology. The objectives, the long-term goals are that of enhanced customer experience through technological innovations, optimized and enhanced business operational processes, technology-driven processes to achieve sustainable financial targets, consistent delivery of NRCS secure services without limitation in terms of the time and the locations, and have improved capacity and controls through fit-for-purpose ICT services, and enhanced governance through adherence to controls and related legislations. So currently the initiatives that we have within the ICT are that of enhanced regulatory solutions to achieve efficiency and effectiveness in the LOA, letters of authority approvals. And that's the project that the ACO has highlighted, that it was taken off the APP as a result of resource limitations, to embed the ERP solutions and streamline key end-to-end processes on the revenue management, including internal ACM processes as well as SCM processes, delivery of ICT services across the business units and customers regardless of location and time. We also aim to adopt fit-for-purpose cyber resilience program through adequate technologies to mitigate all the ICT risks that we may have, as it is known that a number of state entities are being targeted from a cyber attacks perspective. And we also aiming to ensure that as the organization, we've got that a robust, reliable, resilient program that will help us to withstand any form of attacks. We also aim to review the processes, controls within the environment to ensure adequate mitigation of all the possible risks as we work hand in hand with the AG as well as the internal audit team to assist us to mitigate the risks that are identified on a regular basis. Next slide, ACO. So this is the roadmap, a revised roadmap of our ICT modernization program with the initiatives that were put in place with the focus on business-specific areas. So for 24-25, we focused on the ERP implementation to finalize on the finance, ACM, facilities, and the warehouse management, and implement the content management and records management solution to enhance on what we had from SharePoint, and also make sure that the system assist us to keep records of all the information that we have. One of the aims was to also implement the regulatory system with the workflows aiming to embed technologies like AI, Internet of Things, and the drones, with the focus being that of enhancing our regulatory processes. However, that project, as indicated, has been taken off the plan and as a result of resource limitations. But at the same time, the fourth initiative was to implement a customer contact center solution that incorporated the telephonic system whereby customer calls will be recorded and reported on to indicate how many calls are received and what are the nature of the calls that are received, whereby each and every customer's call will be recorded on the system and be referred to the relevant BUs, and make sure that the resolution thereof is provided and have an indication of what are the kind of calls that we receive, what are the issues that our customers have challenges with, and that is the project that is also currently underway. Next slide, ACO. Key highlights from the performance of the current financial period was in the ERP solutions, the implementation finalized on the SCM, finance, HCM, and facility management processes. Went live with the payroll system, performance management, personnel administration, the travel management, SCM, acquisitions management, contract management, and facilities management. These are the initiatives that we went live with since the inception of the project. But the current focus in this current financial year was to then finalize on the learning and development management, and also dealing with continuous improvement on customer-facing processes, particularly in the areas of the declarations, where we experience challenges with some of the key processes in relation to revenue management. So most of the effort was focused on finalizing that project and also aiming to improve on areas where customers and the business experience challenges. We also have an initiative for the electrotechnical energy efficiency solutions, which is aimed at reducing the turnaround time in terms of applications for letters of authority. We adopted the system on energy efficiency for safety components. We migrated key processes of several VCs from the legacy CRM system to this database or this system. And the current focus is on migrating the outstanding functionalities on that legacy system, which we aiming to retire, and then use this EE database as the system of record for the future. We've trained with the training scheduled on to train internal users on the system, and also we focusing on training external customers so that they can adopt the system easily. We've already seen an increase in the adoption of the system from other customers on certain products, and that is also an indication of improvement. We're exploring this system as a solution for the future on the central regulatory framework, particularly because of the resources limitations that we have already indicated, given that it is a system that we've seen it working for a number of processes within the electrotechnical business unit. And we are engaging with the foods and associated industry, BU and other BUs, to explore if this cannot be adopted for the future. Although there are concerns from governance cybersecurity licensing perspective. But since we have been using it, it has been stable, usable, and reliable. So such that we think we can expand it to the other BUs, given the challenges that we have. In terms of the enterprise service management solution for which we are implementing for the customer contact center, we have engaged with a number of BUs about adopting this system to see to it that all the calls that are received by the BUs are registered, are recorded, are monitored, and their response time is also measured to see to it that there is a efficiency, or also to see to it that there is improved on the turnaround time on the calls that are logged by the customers with the NRCS. The current focus is on extending this to the other BUs to also help them to have a monitoring mechanism on the kind of calls that are logged, and also the issues that are experienced by the customers, but also to indicate to the NRCS management as to how we are improving in terms of the customers that we are servicing. The system will also introduce visibility on the kind of issues, the trends that are experienced by the customers, to inform the NRCS and come up with innovative ways in which we can enhance our customers' experience. This is in brief from ICT, the performance chair, and thank you very much, ACO. I'll hand back to the ACO. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm noting the presentation. It's off the screen.
CEO, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here. Technical challenge, I'm not sure. It's not sharing. Chair, are you able to see what is on the screen? I'm not sure how the presentation was removed. I'm trying to.
It's only the ICT, only the ICT that is still here.
Okay. On my screen is not showing any presentation. But I think we are at a stage where I would have requested through you, Chair, the CFO to take us through the finances. I'm not sure if CFO, you are able to see the presentation. On my side, it's dark. I'm not sure what has happened. Honorable Chair, I'm trying to share the screen, but it seems like it's not loading. I can't tell what is the problem. But if ever CFO, wherever you are able to see the presentation, perhaps you can continue with the presentation on finance.
Can I just ask a question? Has the CEO stopped sharing his existing screen? He has to stop sharing before he can share another screen.
Thank you, Mr. Honorable Chance. Margot, can you assist, please?
Yeah, thank you very much, Secretariat, in that regard. Yeah, through your permission, Chair, I would like to request the CFO to take us through our finances. Thank you.
Thank you, ACO. Good morning again, Honorable Chair and Honorable members. On the screen is the financial performance of the entity as at the end of December 2024, the end of the third quarter. The end of the third quarter, we had billed 329 million, against our year-to-date budget of 355 million. This was made up of our transfers that we get from the DTIC. We have received our full allocation by the end of the third quarter, which was 144.6 million. In terms of interest received, we had billed 8.6 million, and we did have a small variance of 1.6 million. Our levies from our compulsory specifications and our services are the two main revenue items that we have as the NRCS. They comprise almost 70% of our income. Our levies are only collected twice per year. So at the end of December, our budget reflected what we should have collected for the first levy period, which was in July 2024. For that period, we had collected 115 million, which was 11.2 million below what we had initially estimated to receive. Our next levy period was in January 2025, and our current results at the end of Feb indicate that that has increased to 217 million. We do have some of our customers that have not submitted declarations, and currently the finance team is working on calculating estimates for those customers. Our actuary requires us to estimate customers or provide estimates on their accounts if they have failed to submit declarations on time. So that's a process that we're currently engaged on. In terms of our services, we had billed 57.8 million against our year-to-date budget of 72.8 million. And this was a slowdown of where we should have been. And largely, this was impacted by the industrial action that had taken place at the entity from the 20th of November. So invoicing had stopped during that period because the staff were not available. We are now in a catch-up plan to catch up with those outstanding invoices that had not been receipted or invoiced for that period of time. Other income, we are doing fairly well, and we are currently exceeding our current budget. In terms of our levies, as I said, that had increased. We, as has previously been reported to the committee, we have not received tariff increases on our current tariffs for the past 5 years, and that tariff approval is currently with the DTIC. Our latest update was that it is now with the National Treasury, where concurrence is now being sought for the approval and gazetting of those tariffs. This also includes new compulsory specifications, which we had submitted for approval and gazetting as well. So we hope that that can be gazetted soon, which means that in the next levy period in July 2025, we are able then to implement the higher tariff, and that definitely will assist us with our financial position. In terms of compensation of employees, our actual at the end of the third quarter was 303 million against a budget of 316 million. This was largely, the variance was largely due to the fact that the vacancies that we had at the time had all not been filled. This also included the position of the CEO, as well as the implementation of the no work, no pay principle for staff that had engaged in industrial action. So that was the contributing factors to the variance for compensation of employees. For goods and services, we had also not spent our full budget, and that was largely due also to the industrial action, as well as the fact that we did make some adjustments to the goods and services budget, and there was therefore insufficient time for the business units to catch up. They have since submitted requisitions, and those procurements are currently in progress. However, based on the fact that our revenue targets are currently not being met, we have started to slow down on our expenditure in order to try to reduce the estimated deficit that we are projecting to record at the end of the financial year. The deficit that is currently forecast on the screen at the end of the third quarter is 26 million. This is an improvement from what had been recorded in the previous financial year. Our deficit was 110 million. So it does indicate that some of the initiatives that we have been putting in place are working. However, we would like to see that figure drop to zero as opposed to being a deficit of 26 million. So that's where we are at the end of the third quarter in terms of our finances. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much. I will now open for honorable members to engage with the presentation. And you'll assist me with the hands if I'm not seeing. I'm trying to see.
No problem. There's no hands yet, Chair, but I can see. Mr.
Member
Chance.
Chance. Over to you, Member Chance.
Thank you very much, Chair, and good morning to the assembled members of the NCRS staff and executives. Thank you for your presentations. Yes, quite a lot of things that need to be queried here. So of the 363 positions, 62 are vacant. Which positions, you mentioned that some of the positions were being filled, like the CEO and some management positions, but which areas of the organization are most seriously affected? Then when it comes to the industrial action, what are the issues that are causing the industrial action? What was it about? Was it about terms of employment, wages, and how far has the mediation got in resolving those problems? And can you give this committee some assurances that these problems will be resolved for the next financial year? Then I was going to ask the question, when were the levies last measured? But the CFO just answered that question 5 years ago. It does seem extraordinary that there's a 5-year lag between tariff adjustments. What is the reason for that slow response to market conditions? I mean, we see Eskom and NRCS, putting up tariffs twice a year. Why has it not been possible for you to do that? Is there any provision for fines as a source of income? I see you have another income line, but where there are obvious transgressions of the compulsory standards, do you levy fines? If you don't, why not? And what would you need to be able to put into place from a regulatory point of view to levy fines? And how would those fines be? What would the quantum of those fines? How would they be established? Then a very basic question: but what actually makes a specification compulsory? And who determines whether it is compulsory? Who says it's compulsory? And has it got anything to do with international benchmarks or compliance? I'd just like to get some guidance on that. Then I'd like to know, because you share premises with the SABS, and you obviously know about the cyber attacks, and the CIO mentioned that your organization is trying to prevent or mitigate any negative consequences. Have you been affected in any way at all by the SABS cyber attacks? And what lessons are you learning from the cyber attack that has virtually destroyed the SABS systems? Then I'm interested to see that the facilitation of exports totals approximately 8 billion rand. Now, as we know, the exports of this within this economy is closer to 2 trillion rand. So what is preventing the NRCS from facilitating a much larger percentage of exports in this country? And how would that potentially benefit your revenue line? Then when it comes to the systems, Mr. Kasago, what attempts are being made through your systems improvements to increase customer acquisition and retention? Because obviously your customers are your main revenue line, and how are you attempting to increase your customer base? I know you have staff problems, but this then asks the question, what are the real benefits that NRCS is offering its customers? What are the incentives that compulsory regulation of their standards bring to them, which really comes to the question of how do you increase your top line? Because there's not much you can do with your bottom line, your expenditure line, apart from cutting staff. But what is the opportunity to increase your revenue line? And that comes to the issue of your funding model. It's unlikely you're going to get an annual increase in your 144 million rand from the DTIC. So how are you going to get income from other sources? Final question is, what increase has been requested in the tariffs, and how do you assess that increase? What percentage increase, and what are the increases that you're going to be trying to budget for in the next few years? Yeah, sorry, one other question, which is interesting. Your services line is expected to increase from the current 57 million to 86 million in the last quarter, which seems quite a big jump. How are you anticipating getting those revenues to increase by such a large margin in a short space of time? Thank you very much, Chair. That's all for me.
Thank you very much, Member Chance. Are there any other question? I know that Member Chance has asked on our behalf many other questions. Colleagues, do you have any other questions?
There's
okay.
No hands, Chair.
Okay, so the organization is a service organization, right? Then so can you explain and or reconcile the vacancy rate vis-a-vis the expenditure, which is sitting at 82.6%? Because if you were to fill all those 62%, you would probably be way over 100%. How does an organization just function without other things? Because there should be goods and services budget and stuff. If you can just take us into confidence with regard to that issue, and then and secondly, you've not achieved 90% of the target as per the plan. You could not achieve 95% of all the approval application to be processed within 90 days. And they are attributing this to the inadequate capacity to process approvals. Given the cost containment measures, how is this going to be addressed, since you say that you've got a capacity challenge? And then thirdly, you reported that some of your targets were not achieved because of the loss of productive time resulting in industrial action by NEHAW. So can you just explain to us how this has been resolved, whether or not you've got a permanent solution or issues will still be coming up? And then you also talk about the gazetting of compulsory specification. And then what are the reasons for the delay in gazetting the specification, as my fourth question? And then you state that you are not in a healthy financial position, mainly as a result of the slowdown in the economy. So in the latest, in the last engagement with the committee, you reported that you were reviewing your funding model. What is the progress with regard to reviewing of the funding model in the main? So those are some of the questions that, while other members are still thinking about the questions, if you can just take us through, please. Over to you, CEO.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, and thank you very much also for the questions from Honorable Member Chance. I will cover some of the questions that have been posed, and some of them I'll delegate to the CIO as well as the CFO, as they've already been directed to them. With regards to what are the issues on industrial actions, In the main, the issue is not finding each other in terms of the collar demands. That is, they are requesting for a 8% increase or somewhere around there, 8.3% increase, whilst the organization has got nothing to offer. I think that was the point of departure in terms of not finding each other. And then during the engagement, much as we were proposing something on the table, it was subjected to the performance of the organization, meaning that we had to achieve certain targets before we can consider any sort of percentage. But from NEHAO perspective, they wanted an offer on the table and everything else later. So we couldn't find each other in that regard. As a result, of course, the strike was put on suspension through the intervention of the DTIC, wherein they are in the process of, in fact, they have already completed the process of appointing the mediator who will then assist. And the engagements will start with all the involved parties as of the beginning of April. So there is progress in terms of the mediation process in that regard. In terms of levies that have not been increased over the past 5 years, the reasons, of course, would like to defer that to the DTIC. I'll recall in the previous meeting, the DTIC had indicated reasons, amongst others, the poor economic performance. Much as we would have made those submissions to the DTIC, but the DTIC had to also apply its processes to either approve our request or not to do so. I think there is a process that they need to follow, including consultation with the Minister of Finance in that regard. Are there any provisions for fines? The straight answer to that is no, we do not have provisions for fines that could assist in revenue generation for the organization. However, repeat offenders may be subjected to the, it is seen as a criminal offense, which the offender can be subjected to sort of a 3 months imprisonment if found to be guilty, or payment of, I think, around 1,000 rands. That is in terms of the provision of the act itself. We have been involving ourselves in the process of trying to review the NRCS Act, wherein we will include input such as Honorable Chances proposed in terms of the provision of fines, so that we can on the spot issue a fine which can also assist in addressing the issue of non-compliance in the market, as well as addressing the issue of revenue. In terms of who makes the VC to be compulsory, at the end of the day, the Act requires of the minister to declare a standard as a compulsory specification. Then we become the custodian as the NRCS of that compulsory specification. And the process pretty much is in the manner of trying to address issues of safety, public health, as well as environmental protection and fair trade in as far as the legal methodology is concerned. So it's not just about all the standards that we have in the country or international, but the point of departure is the need for regulating a particular product, wherein there is a consultative process that takes place in terms of developing the requirements of that specifications, which then the NRCS will recommend to the Minister of Trade, Industry and Competition. And after having gone through the final process, then the minister declares that standard as a compulsory specification. The question on cyber attack, of course, that will be dealt with by our CIO. Exports amounting to close to 8 billion. This is not in respect of all the areas that we regulate as the organization, but it's only within our food and associated industry. We have indicated that our food and associated industry business unit is a declared competent authority in South Africa to issue health guarantees that are acceptable by other countries, particularly in the EU, as well as in some of the countries in the Asia, in the Asia continent. So this is only to deal with fish and fishery products in as far as that figure that we have reported is concerned. It doesn't include any other product that we would issue LOA for, and such products having to be exported to other markets, particularly in Africa. We have not made that determination as yet in terms of other products. Here for food-related product, it was as a result of the requester for these guarantee certificates will provide such information for us that we are able then to digest and come to a figure that we are able then to report in this regard. And then in terms of the question on incentive to traders as a result of how the system that we should be designing as the NRCS to assist our customers, I will also request the CIO to deal with that. The funding model for the NRCS, yes, we were involved in a project to deal with funding model of the organization. The outcome thereof did not fall far from the requirements in the already existing legislation. That is now in terms of the regulations to the Act, which specifies how levies are supposed to be determined. In other words, we have always been using a cost recovery approach in as far as levies are concerned, but the process pretty much still requires by the minister. And like we've indicated, as part of the review of the NRCS Act, what we would like to see is to review this process of cost recovery to an extent that it covers the expected income of the organization to be able to be sustainable in that regard. In terms of what increase have been requested in terms of percentage, I will also request the CFO to touch on that. Increase of revenue also, I will ask the CFO to deal with that. In terms of the vacancy rate, we have our risk and strategy senior manager, Mr. Matemba. I will ask him to respond to that, Honorable Chair. We have not achieved 95% of approvals in as far as the applications that we completed within 90 days. How are we going to address that? Having noted, of course, that the biggest contributor here is our staff having not been engaged for almost 43 calendar days. We have requested from the various business units the catch-up plans, which are currently being implemented. But because of the nature of the turnaround, how it is measured, most of the applications that would not have been attended during the month of November and December, time had already lapsed, so we can't catch up with the time in that regard, but we can only address the volumes of the applications such that we don't end up with a backlog at the end of the financial year. But in terms of measuring the turnaround times, applications that were not processed during the time when the staff members were disengaged, it will be difficult for us to make them to be completed within 90 days because that period would already have passed, even if we are to complete those applications. So they will be completed, but they will be outside the 90 days. In terms of the lost time, productive time, how is that being addressed? In some instances, and of course, subjected to availability of the funds within the organization, as we are also trying to balance the cash flow within the organization. We have approved overtimes, particularly where we noted the functionality that it has to operate within this given time, and certain activities needs to be done outside of the working timelines. We have approved the overtime to try and deal with that. It's most unfortunate that we cannot go to an extent of increasing the capacity at this point in time in terms of the responsible officials, or rather to employ more staff at this point in time, but rather to utilize the current staff, but increase in terms of the production time. In terms of the reasons for the delay in terms of the compulsory specifications, with your permission, Chair, I would also want to maybe request the DTIC to maybe to deal with that, because from our side, what we do is we normally recommend to the DTIC for the finalization of the compulsory specification after the respective consultation would have been done with the respective stakeholders. And then how it gets delayed within the DTIC processes, I would like to believe that the DTIC can maybe provide more detail in that regard. And I think from yourself, Honorable Chair, with regards to the funding model, I've already touched on that, wherein the outcome thereof is still for us to pretty much align with the provision of the NRCS Act, as well as its regulations on how levies are actually determined. In other words, the fees to the regulator on how they are actually supposed to be determined. So the fees within the NRCS is service fees, in other words, which is an exchange, as well as the fees that we charge in respect of levies. The question that also Honorable Chan started with, dealing with the 62 vacancies, I'm not sure at this point in time if we have the available information to be able to categorize. But I think in the presentation we have highlighted, I think, about 8 positions that are within the management level, inclusive of the CEO and 3 general managers and human resource head in that regard. But the other positions are in various functional areas, such as within the technical side of things, specialists and candidate inspectors. I think I have covered my side. I would like to request perhaps the CFO and then the CIO to deal with other areas of the questions. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, ACO. To you, Honorable Chair. With regards to the increase in the tariffs, the levy tariffs, as the ACO had just mentioned, it is a process. So we start first with engagements with the customers. We engage the customers, and our tariffs are usually based on a cost recovery basis. And once there is that engagement and agreement, we then make the proposals to the minister for approval. And of course, there's been no approval for the past 5 years. And at the last engagement with the customers, the proposal then was to increase the tariff by 7%, and for tariff increases also to be applied over a 3-year period to avoid a situation of requesting approval from the minister on an annual basis. Because as you can see in the past, that hasn't taken place. So we were trying to be proactive to get approval for the next 3 years. So that tariff increase that was agreed upon with our customers was 7%. 7% was what we had proposed. So we are currently waiting feedback from the DTIC as to what their final approval will be. In terms of our services budget and what had been recorded at the end of third quarter in our projection, yes, we are still aiming for over 80 million to be billed. Part of the reason why we had only billed just over 50 million at the end of the third quarter was because staff were not available to process LOAs and process other service requests from our customers, which meant that those services were not invoiced. Also, there was backlogs for additional invoicing that was sent to the finance unit as well to process invoices. So it was services that were not being rendered that were put on hold, and invoices that should have been processed that were not processed. So as of yesterday, we had already invoiced 75.7 million. So there had been more than 20 million increase from where we were at the end of the third quarter. And currently we are working on a backlog of about 1.5 months. So our target, we're still maintaining our revised target, and we're working hard right now to try and achieve that. I think that's all from me, ACO. Through you, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Saho.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, ACO. Let me start with the question about the benefits derived from the systems. So we'll start with on the EE database, or the electronic technical energy efficiency database, enables the customers to log on, submit their applications for the LOAs and the permits, and also have visibility on those application statuses. Once the application is approved, the customer will automatically get the certificate of, the LOA or the permit emailed to them. Secondly, from revenue management system, in terms of the benefits derived from the solution, is that customers are no longer making declarations through manual forms, which were emailed to the NRCS, and the NRCS had to then capture them manually on the system, the legacy system, before the customer could get the invoices and make the payment. The current situation is that once the customer has declared, the declaration is reviewed by the levy officers on the portal online, and if they, upon agreeing or accepting the declaration, the system will then integrate that declaration as a sales order into the financial system, which will capture it, generate an invoice, and send it to the portal and also to the customer. So the customer has visibility about the customer invoices on the system, on the portal, and also the statements on terms of the levy customers, and working on improving on the services customers, which needs to also be integrated to that system. So that's the benefit that is derived from the system on the customer side. But from the NRCS perspective, in terms of this, is an improved process, in a sense that NRCS at any given point in time is able to log onto the portal and see the declarations, figures, and also interrogate if you can analyze it to see to it which customers are declaring, which ones are not declaring. So currently the systems are not integrated to one another, but the long-term plan is that we would like to integrate the declaration figures as well as the permits and the letters of authorities information, such that at any given point in time, NRCS can do an interrogation of the declarations which were received, which were not received from customers, which were issued with the LOAs, so that we can then start working on audits and investigation in terms of the customers which have been receiving LOAs but not declaring as it is required by the Act. From cybersecurity perspective, if I'm going to that section through you, Chair, we were not affected by the SAPS cyber incident. as such, we actually approached by the SABS to assist them in rebuilding some of their systems, given that we had the similar versions of the system that they were using, although we have retired that application, the JDE system. So the lesson that we learned from this incident was that as the NRCS, we have to improve on our controls, particularly in specific areas like vulnerability management and the privilege accesses and authorizations and reviews. We have quite a robust, reliable intrusion detection and prevention system, which has always indicated to us that despite the fact that we've been attacked or attempted on several times, our system or our network is always safe, that such that we have never been compromised to a point that we can not be able to access the systems. So we are working within the team in a quest to improve. Obviously, due to resources limitations, we note that we have not invested adequately in terms of where we ought to be, but we are working hard to see to it that the processes that we have or the controls that we have are adequate enough to prevent us from any form of cyber attack that we've been experiencing. And we can confidently say we have a disaster recovery site, which we test on a regular basis to just assess reliability of it in terms of if the primary site is down, that we can be able to run from the secondary site without significant impact in terms of business operations. And we are confident that from the last test we did, it has demonstrated to us that we can be able to run from that environment in case we are to suffer any cyber attack from the current primary site. And we will be running the test of that again, even in this current financial year, to just make sure that the controls that we have there are still reliable and dependable. Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you, ACO. Thanks, members.
Thank you very much. Are there any follow-up? Yes, Member Chance.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I just want clarity from the CFO regarding the 7%. Is that 7% over 3 years, split between the 3 years, or is it 7% a year for 3 years? Because obviously that's a huge difference, whichever the answer is. And then generally, the question is balancing the issue of red tape with the need to expand your footprint, if I may call it that, as a regulatory authority. Obviously, the more organizations and the more sectors you regulate, the more you have potential to increase your revenue. But at the same time, you're imposing regulatory burdens on those customers. So I'd like to get your thoughts on that, and what sectors you are hoping to extend your footprint to, so that you can increase your tariff revenue. But how will you then persuade those organizations through the compulsory specifications process outlined that you're actually offering benefits to them rather than just more red tape? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I see another hand. Matomela. Yes, Madam.
Thank you, Chair. Mine was just to respond to the issue of the levies, Chair, and just to confirm, as the acting CEO indicated, that the concerns at the time were as a result of the poor economic outlook, Chair, as well as the impact of COVID-19 on businesses. But I can confirm that the request has been attended to, and we have since submitted to Treasury for concurrence, Chair. So we are following up with Treasury, so the matter should be resolved soon. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I see another hand, but I can't. Oh, okay, that's fine. No, thank you very much. I think obviously there is a bit of concern that we had said that we need that almost that radical shift in terms of how we're going to revise the APP I see that 3 items were removed and 2 were put in, and we still can't find, and that's why there's this consistent question from Member Chance, that one significant thing that when we say we pride ourselves, this is what our institution is doing, we're unable to get that as a matter of fact from the report. So I hope as you do your closing remarks, CEO, you will, as in answering the questions from Member Chance, you will try and really wrap this out for us nicely so that we have a sense whether or not there has been some improvement from when we met and now that you have a revised one, and you see how to take it forward. And then on the finances, it's just a matter of emphasizing that we have to work on the financial recovery plan to make sure that the institution is stable. We cannot afford, given the nature of the work that you do and its impact to the broader society, that you could be categorized as one of the collapsing entities. So we would need an engagement on how we can ensure that this entity is financially self-sustainable so that it can be able to do its work. And lastly, I think we are making a call for those vacancies to be filled, and we are just worried about the ratio of the employee vis-a-vis the budget, where all those 60-something posts are vacant and funded. But you will then take us into confidence and conclude the meeting. Over to you, CEO.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I think, yeah, some of the remarks that you have made would have been covered had we given an opportunity to Mr. Matemba, who is our strategy and risk manager. Perhaps also maybe leaning on to the latest question from Honorable Chance on dealing with issues around red tape reduction and so on. The COO would have maybe had time to do so, but I'm at your capable hands, Honorable Chair, if I can call those colleagues to maybe expand on that before providing with the closing remarks. Through your permission, Honorable Chair.
Yes, we've got our permission, CEO.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, let's, Mr. Matemba, if you can deal with issues around the vacancy rate vis-a-vis the budget, as well as the 62 vacancy positions, which areas, and so on.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Acting CEO and honorable members. In terms of the vacancies, looking at the financial position of the entity, only 18 are budgeted for and have funding. The rest, having looked at our financial positions, our financial position, we do not have funding for them, and there will be, as and when the finances are reviewed, we will be allocating budget. But just to give a glimpse, 10 positions are administrative in nature, either admin or financial officers. 20 are candidate inspectors. 11 are technical specialists, and 8 are senior management, and the rest are just one here, one there. So half of the positions are either candidate inspector or technical specialist. And that would be across all the regulated business units. But in looking at where we are, we have then tried through our regulatory model to balance the need for resources and also the need to still be able to regulate effectively allocating resources to where it matters the most, where we can have the highest impact. Yeah. Back to you, ACO. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. COO, if you can maybe address the comment from Honorable Chance on issues around red tape reduction going forward.
Thank you, Chair. I think one of the greatest issues that our clients or industry looks forward to is the speed and the ease with which they obtain their approvals granted or issued by the NRCS. We have moved from 120 days to 90 days currently. And within the business units, we also are able to measure 30, 60, 90, and a good number of applications that are correctly submitted, meeting our requirements, are issued within that period. The area that becomes a problem is when applications come without meeting the requirements. Then that back and forth will go over the 90 days. And that's in an area that through our industry meetings with key stakeholders, we always try to improve on. I think the rest we also have indicated in terms of collaborations, especially with customs and the BMA, in ensuring that regulated industries are protected from incoming non-compliance product. And that's an area which, unfortunately, when we are talking about capacity issues, stretches us further than where we are, because our strategy has been 80-20, focus more on the source, which is our import and our manufacturing base. But now you will see, when we also have challenges on spaza shops and the like, that we get stressed much further. And through the especially joint operations and blades and stuff like that, we are able to cover more. But with the capacity we have currently, it will take a little bit more for us to be much more efficient and to ensure that those that are already regulated and paying levies, the level field is leveled so that they trade much better. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. We appreciate the presentation, and we will be obviously paying a closer attention. Oh, I see a hand. Member Chance?
Yeah, I didn't get an answer on the 7% from the CFO. And secondly, I just want to get an update, please, on the certification of the SABS cement labs. Because, as you know, the cement labs lost their certification through the NRCS some months ago, and there was an extension, I think, till the end of April. Please, can you give us an update on the status of these SABS cement labs? Thank you.
CEO?
Thank you so much, Honorable Chair, Honorable Chance, in that regard. Yeah, starting with the question on the 7%, it is not to cover for the previous 5 years. This is just on what was gazetted in 2019. We are requesting 7% added onto it. We can only deal with this point going forward, meaning that in the next coming financial years, we'll be looking at most probably around the CPI, maybe plus 1.2% or so going forward, because that has to be an annual adjustment. But to your question, the 7% is not to be compounded for the previous 5 years. It is just on the current gazetted rate and add the 7%. and then we'll deal with the correction as we move on in the next financial years to come. And then with regards to the question on the suspension of the SABS certification on cement, I know that we have been having this engagement with the COO in this regard, and I really would like to maybe apologize through you, Chair, to just refer these questions to the various areas. But I believe that the COO will be in the best position to maybe take members through what has been the engagement with the SABS in this regard, as well as the regulated in terms of the impact of the suspension on the certification of cement process.
I think the partial suspension by SANAS remains that it's not a full withdrawal of their certification, but it's partial pending closing some of the findings that they have been raised. So as the NRCS, we have consistent engagement with SABS where they update us on the progress and how far they are to correcting such findings. The suspension will end by the 7th of April. Based on our previous meeting with the SABS, we have agreed that by first week of April, they will update us on the standing. But the impact currently, though minimal, it means that there are no new certifications that are being issued or considered by the SABS. Only those companies or industries that already have certification, and on our side, we also have issued them with the letters of authority. They are able to continue to give them service, but they are not taking any new business. So as the regulator, we can't take a decision to withdraw the recognition of SABS certification once it is only partially withdrawn. But by the 7th of April, we'll know whether this is withdrawn permanently, and we will then act accordingly. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, Honorable Chair. Yeah,
the issue of 7%, I think, is the only issue remaining.
Okay, let me just call in the CFO then, through your permission, Chair.
Thanks, ACO. You, Honorable Chair. Tariff, the request for the submission that we had forward was an increase of year 1 of the 7%, actually 7.2, and for the 2 outer years, that is year 2 and year 3, for that increase to be CPI. And as I said, to avoid a situation of going back to the DTIC to have those tariffs approved annually. So it's 7.2, it's not over the 3-year period, it's just for year 1 and thereafter CPI. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We will closely monitor the work of the institution. We appreciate the detailed reporting, and we'll meet with you, I think, in the next quarter just to pick up some issues. As part and parcel of our oversight work, we might need to do an oversight. I think the administration will assist us, because we're trying to interact directly with all the things. I know that when we came for the meeting, we had a sense of some of your activities, especially in the food sector. So it might be interesting to look at other areas and see practically how you're dealing with issues. But otherwise, I think we are fine. But before we close the meeting, can I invite Andre, our secretary, to pick up one issue that we need to finalize on as committee, then we can conclude the meeting. Andre, over to you.
Thank you, Chair. Members, I think I'll ask Margot to share a document, Chair. Chair, we received the request from ArcelorMittal South Africa. Remember, we scheduled a meeting to engage with ArcelorMittal on the 25th of March. Because after their request for postponement, because they still need to meet with the minister. They subsequently met with the minister and they have requested a closed meeting. As the request is captured in the document that is shared by Margot. And if we look at point 2, they said that in particular, we need to ensure that our responses do not breach the JSE listing requirements, highlighted compromise commercially sensitive information that affects the company's market value or reputation. As a result of those requests, they asked for a closed session where they, in their opinion, would be allowed for more open, honest dialogue, enabling the committee to gain a deeper understanding of the matters at hand. We go down, Chair, Margot, the rules, Rule 184, Margot, that governs public access is 1842. The committee or subcommittee can consider this request in terms of these rules. B said if a committee or subcommittee is considering a matter which is of a private nature that is prejudicial to a particular person, protected under parliamentary privilege, or for any reason privileged in terms of the law or confidential in terms of legislation, the nature of which is such that the confidential treatment is reasonable and justifiable in an open and democratic society. So in light of these rules, the committee can consider the request for a closed session if the committee is of the view that by not having a closed meeting, they would not be able to receive all information or have an open and fair discussion on the matter. If the committee so decide to have a closed meeting, information submitted and discussed in a closed meeting would remain confidential and could not be disclosed to the public by members of the committee. If any member disclose, Margot, confidential information to the public, it would constitute contempt of the rules of Parliament, and the matter should be referred to the Powers and Privilege Committee. The committee would act in term. This committee will act in terms of the Powers, Privilege, and Communities of Parliament and Provisional Legislation Act. And if any member is found guilty of disclosing confidential information, the relevant process and sanction would apply. So the decision is for the committee whether they accede to the request of ArcelorMittal to have a closed session on the 25th of March. And if the committee is in agreement, we will probably have to have that meeting in person, because on a virtual platform, we will not be able to ensure confidentiality. Chair, there we have it, Chair. Thanks.
Members of the committee, can we get your views? You will recall that this meeting was postponed pending the meeting of AMSA with the minister, and I believe that that meeting has taken place, but there is still a need for them to brief us. So can I hear your take so that we can then decide? Member Kigaba and then Member Chance.
Chair, I want to suggest, I think I understand their concern and sensitivity about meeting with us, and given that we want them to be free and to disclose to the committee as much as possible of information which might be market sensitive. I want to agree that we apply for a closed meeting and we hold a closed meeting with them. It only makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Chance.
Thanks, Chair. Yes, as a matter of principle, the DA is opposed to closed meetings of parliamentary committees. We generally feel that they serve no purpose because we are not the executive authority over the decisions that are made in terms of financing. So whatever is shared with us in the committee meeting can't really be then shared with the people that make the decisions without breaking parliamentary privilege. But having said that, I will consult with my colleague on the committee as well as our chief whip and defer a decision until a future date. That's okay with you, Chair.
Okay. MK? MK? EFF? Matambo? I don't know what's happening with members today.
It's on the platform, Chair.
I see, but he's not talking. I don't even see the microphone. What other party I'm missing? ANC and the DA have spoken. Can we get other views?
It's only the MK party and as well as the EFF is on the platform, Chair.
Okay, there's just two views on the table. The ANC is fine with the closed meeting. The DA is consulting the chief whip. Any other views?
Yeah, no, Chair, we are here. I'm starting with signal. I did indicate on the platform. So I tried moving around. Of course, I'll consult the party. Then we'll come with a determination. I'll communicate to the office of the chair.
Okay. So how long do you, the colleagues that are going to consult with their parties, how much time do you need? Because we need to be able to give them an indication when are we likely, whether the meeting is going to go ahead or not go ahead. Because there will be a lot of... Today.
Yeah.
Okay, Member Chance, when are you consulting your chief whip?
Yeah, I'll hopefully get an answer before the close of business today, Chair.
Okay, that's perfect. And then EFF? EFF? Okay, just let me just try and call the honorable member.
Mr. Kigaba raised his hand, Chair, in the meantime.
Yes, Mr. Kigaba, you can come through.
Chair, I think without preempting the responses of other colleagues on the committee, then we might have to have an in-principle decision that because AMSA is not a state entity and are not obligated to account to us, that those of us who are willing to have a closed meeting with them, in the instance that other colleagues are not willing to, then those of us who are willing, and since we are interested in the information that they will provide us, must go ahead and listen to the information. We will make a determination after we hear them how we want to move forward with regard to that, particularly should there be any implications for public funds. Then we may take the decision to invite the ministry to come to the committee and engage on that. But I'm just raising it so that it's already flagged that those of us who are willing to have the closed meeting would like to proceed, even I don't know in what nature, but that's what I'm suggesting. Thank you.
Member Tambo, if you can come through. Just spoken to the member, so we're just waiting for him. So I don't know. Andre, can you guide us, given the views that are expressed by members, and not everyone is in a...
Yeah, Chair, it's a committee decision, Chair. We need to have a seconder for the move from Mr. Kigaba, and then we can put it before, or we can await the consultation, Chair, and make a decision after that, Chair.
Okay. Is there another way outside of a meeting in which you can try and confirm?
We can, Chair, we can schedule a meeting, a quick meeting tomorrow morning, just to have a discussion and ensure that all members are on the platform to make a decision regarding this request, Chair.
The document that you presented now, are you able to share it in the group and then ask members to comment?
No problem. We
yeah,
can do so, Chair.
Yeah, let's do that. I think it's going to help us because our platform is formal. And then just to determine the views of different political parties, closed meeting or no closed meeting, so that we know on the 25th.
Yeah. Chair,
I think it will be...
Chance?
Yes, Member Chance?
Yeah, just a couple of things, Chair. Number one, I'm happy to just give you our decision in an email to the Secretary and to yourself. I don't think we need a meeting, but if you have a meeting, I'll try and join the call. Secondly, Mr. Gigaba's suggestion, if the meeting takes place without a quorum, that means that it's not an official committee meeting, it's just a meeting of individuals. Obviously, if a meeting takes place without the participation of the DA or any other parties, it must be noted that that is the decision of those parties. And the committee, must understand that there could be some dissent as to the decision that is taken if it is a majority decision to have the meeting, but some parties decide not to participate.
Yeah, we're looking at the mechanism. That's why I have suggested that we use our official WhatsApp group to just get the sense so that we can see what majority parties are saying. At this point, I am unable to make a ruling because there's two views on the table. So I don't know which is which. And then that's a question.
Chair?
Yes.
Yeah, you'll forgive me, Chair. I'm not in a conducive environment. That's why I'll dip in and out. But I would like to say that the EFF must be noted to be in support of having a meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Member Tambo.
So Member Tambo will be supporting the Chair, the proposal by Mr. Kigaba.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Member Kigaba.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, it must also be noted that the quorum for the committee is 4 members, unless I'm mistaken.
Just to correct, Chair, the quorum is 6 members, but the committee, in terms of the rules, can have 1/3 of its members present to constitute a meeting, and that means 4 members, Chair.
Thank you. So we can proceed with the meeting even if the DA is unwilling to be part of that meeting, if there is a quorum of 6.
Not a quorum, Chair, 1/3 members present, which is 4 members, Chair.
Thank you.
Any committee meeting can proceed in terms of the rules with 4 members present, Chair.
Because we're not taking a decision.
No.
We are listening.
Yeah, it's just a meeting to note. Member Chance?
Yeah, I think the point is that we can't take a decision. The committee cannot take a decision. And again, I don't see the point of having a closed meeting or any other meeting, quite frankly, on a matter of such import if it can't take a decision. The information that we're receiving is confidential information. But anyway, as I said, I'll come back to you with our decision by the end of the day.
Yeah. Colleagues, let's not confuse things. The meeting we're in now, it's co-reading, right? It's got over 6 members.
We can make a decision, yeah.
We can take a decision. That's why I'm trying to, all what I'm saying now is that there were 2 views and then there was no support. And I didn't want to go to members. I went to parties. There's still member Lufefe and myself who've not spoken and we support this view, for instance. But I just wanted to make sure that we canvass as many parties as possible to make sure that the views we take is democratic. Because I think it is in the best interest of this committee and that the meeting does sit, and then that meeting is not going to take any decisions, but we are going to pick up things that will be necessary for us to either call the ministry or make our views known, because the steel industry is critical here in South Africa. So I just, yes.
But from a procedural point of view, there's one matter before the committee for its decision, Chair. The committee could and the committee can, if it needs to be vote on the decision, to either have a closed meeting, Chair, not saying that the other matters cannot proceed where the parties will consult, but there is a question before for the committee, which was seconded by Mr. Tambo, for instance. So the committee could to take a decision on the matter, Chair. Mr. Kigaba, Chair?
Yes, Mr. Kigaba.
Yeah, Chair, I think notwithstanding what Andre is indicating, let us support the approach you are taking, because you are seeking to galvanize consensus in the committee. We will then decide how we proceed once Mr. Chance indicates whether the DA wants to be part of that meeting or not. But I think your approach is uniting. You are seeking consensus. Let's support the approach you are suggesting. We can wait for the DA to come back.
Okay. That's fine. That's fine, colleagues. I think let's really try, and I'm sure we will wait until this afternoon, and then please just throw it on the group. We'll also try and sensitize members that there's a sensitive issue that requires them to make a decision, so that we have as many parties as possible in the committee taking this decision. I think that's how we'll conclude it, and then we'll then give feedback to the members at the end of the day today. That should enable you then to communicate back with ArcelorMittal whether or not the meeting is proceeding as requested. Because this is a request coming to us, and in our view, it's a reasonable request, but we want to make sure that we take along the majority into the meeting, because we all have agreed to meet with them anyway. It is just this aspect of a closed meeting, which I think it's reasonable given the sensitive information that they are willing to share with us as a committee. So let's close it like that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair.
The meeting is officially closed, and then you will communicate on the group just to make sure that all members. Okay. Thank you. The meeting is officially adjourned.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Chair and members. Goodbye.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Bye.